Reusse Unchained. This is the first time we've had a chance to put the Viking season to bed with you, just based on our podcast schedules this week. So now that you've had a couple days to simmer on the end of the Viking season, your thoughts?
I still cannot, and it's not a novel thought at all, but I do not know what was going on in the brain of Sam Darnold. I really do not know why, when he's under pressure and he's in the pocket 8 yards behind the play, then he turns around and runs 7 yards more backwards when he's not going to get away from anybody. I just cannot figure out what was going on with him. He was absolutely did some of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And what get rid of the ball when you're about to get killed, for goodness sakes. It was
Yeah.
just it was a god awful performance. And 2 weeks ago, I gave him a little bit of benediction. He was just inaccurate 2 weeks ago, right? He wasn't completely stupid like he was Monday night. Monday night was a complete loss of composure by a guy who had created self doubts the previous week, and those doubts came out and overwhelmed him on Monday. He everything he did Monday was stupid and not conducive to being an NFL quarterback. It was one of the worst performances I've ever seen,
Yeah.
and I just can't figure out what the hell he was doing. I don't know, and if they should have brought in the gunslinger, man. Nick could get rid of the ball. I'll tell you that. Nick would get
Well,
rid
they
of it.
they
He
had two, I
might
think they
throw it.
had two agendas in the second half though. One was win the game, and maybe Nick Mullins gives you a better chance at that agenda. But the other one was, boy, if Sam could just put together a couple 100 yards in garbage time, maybe we could still franchise tag and trade him for a
Yes,
second round pick.
yes, maybe that was it. I said this earlier to somebody else this week though, but Fleck, not this year. Fleck actually, when he had a quarterback, tried to win games this year when they were down in the second half. The previous year and before that, he often was dedicated to holding the score down rather than rushing up to the line of scrimmage and stuff. If they were down, you know 28-7 2 minutes into the fourth quarter, or 24-7, he'd run out the clock and take the loss so it looked respectable. That's what O'Connell was doing. What was this? What
Yeah.
was that? What? Come on, let's go here. I mean, the guys on TV, you just don't see that in the NFL, do you? That you don't try, especially in the playoffs. Yeah, so what if you give up two more touchdowns?
It was
I
weird.
don't.
It was like KOC was pouting a little bit too. And
Yes,
he and
yeah,
after
I
the
think
game,
so.
it's the most frontal he's been in a post game press conference, throwing interior offensive line under the bus. He said, we have to get that figured out long term here."
Hmm.
And then just he threw Sam Darnold under the bus in his second quarter
Yes,
interview on ESPN too. Just like we
yes,
can't. He says we can't take those sacks.
yes,
You
yes, yes.
can't take those
No,
sacks.
yes, yeah, it was frightful. It really was. It was, and the Rams kind of put it neutral in the fourth quarter. I mean, in the second half, and just they apparently knew that 27 points was enough, so they weren't really trying to do much the second half. But it could have been. It was 27-9, so it's 18 points. We've seen worse. We saw the Case Keenum game was 34-7 or 38-7 in Philly, right? But this seemed worse. This just seemed worse because there was no effort. There was no effort to change the game in the second half. It was just incredible. I thought it was a disgusting performance.
Yeah.
Pat, I loved your column of with the fever pitch line of Uncle Carl that you
Yes,
threw in there on the Star
yes,
Tribune.
right.
I think we did fever pitch on our movie review, and I had a callback to read like, oh yeah, Uncle Carl, the one that says, "I'm careful, kid. They'll break your
Yeah,
heart." Yeah,
careful, kid. They'll break your heart. I did have a few people say, I didn't know where the hell you were going when you started reading when you started with fever pitch. But Eric Curry, the referee and friend of mine, and used to work for the Twins, and he texted me about his 7-year-old son crying. Uh, as he was going to bed, and then his 7-year-old son's quote to his mother before he went to sleep was, when is God going to let some good things happen for Minnesota? When is God going to start being nice to Minnesota?
Yeah.
And I immediately thought of Uncle Carl, So then I knew I had my lead, and it was. But the best part is of that was I'm up at the lookout up in Maple
Maple
Grove. That's
Grove,
where I
yeah.
was watching the game, and it's the goofiest bar ever because it just sits in the middle of this neighborhood with hundreds of houses
That's
around
the
it.
birthplace of Vikings vent line.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
that's
really? You went
we,
up there first? Did
it
you
was
really?
live remotes the first year at the lookout on
Yeah.
Sundays. Yeah.
Well, I've been up there like 7, 8 years ago, and it was full. Well, this one they didn't have they had 100 and some people because it's a Monday night, and they're all working stiffs, right? So
Yeah.
they all, and it's 20 below zero. But I'm leaving at halftime. And the guy said, I said, gee, a crowd. He said, Monday night killed us. He says, the pit of misery isn't even here tonight. And I said, what? And he's got all these guys who come in. There's like, who just come in and drink, and they stand down at the end of the bar and sit down at the end of the bar, and they call themselves the pit of misery because of being longtime Viking fans. I was almost out the door before I got the pit of misery punchline for that. So I mean that is classic. So sometimes you get lucky, and it was. I mean, I sat in the back with 3, 4 guys who were pretty calm about it, but there was a lot of Sam. What are you doing,
Yeah.
Sam?
And it's like what's so hard for Vikings fans is there's no it's not if you're a Steelers fan or a Patriots fan, there's reference points for even though it's tough right now, we know that just if we just get into the playoffs and make a run because we've done it. The
Yeah.
Vikings have tried it every which way over
Yes.
64 years. Every
I
which way, and they've never broken
And
through.
it is an astounding season to look back at because they were 14-2. How in God's name were they? I mean, they pulled out games. They looked like they turned Sam into, oh man, I think we got to franchise him so we can get a draft choice or maybe stick with him and how you can be 14-2 and leave a season with this bad a taste
Right.
in your mouth is pretty incredible,
Well, to that
wouldn't you
point, if
say?
you go back 9 months or was it March when they signed Darnold and
Yeah.
say it was before the draft even. So let's just say you don't even know that they drafted the quarterback of the future. But back in March, if you would have told people, hey, so they're going to say goodbye to Cousins and they're going to replace him with Sam Darnold and he's going to be the starting quarterback for the whole year. And then I'm not going to tell you anything, but 9 months later, you're going to get beat in the playoffs, but you're going to be a 14-win team, and Sam Darnold's going to get MVP votes. Would you be happy with that outcome? And people probably would have said yes, but
Yes,
man,
but once you because several of those victories were like hanging on and pulling them out and doing that, and once you think your team has that quality, it's hard to watch. Now in the Lions game, to me, wasn't that hard. It was hard to watch offensively. But
yeah.
the defense played like hell that game, right? I mean, they were until they finally just gave in, but and gave up the 21 points in 15 minutes or something. But this was, I mean, from the start, the Rams go down the field and Stafford standing back there. And now they did get one of the 5 worst calls in the history of NFL football. The idea that Stafford was throwing a pass, but beyond that, I don't know if it changes it or not. Maybe it changes Darnold's attitude about playing quarterback, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure,
Who
but
do you think wins now that the Vikings are out the door? Who do you think wins the whole thing now?
I think the winner of the Buffalo-Baltimore game, but I don't know
Yeah,
who's going to win that game.
we might be getting some snow for that game.
I think Baltimore might win that game. But those are the two meanest, toughest teams with the two toughest quarterbacks. And I was saying, I think I was saying to Judd Monday that Al Davis's plan when he became commissioner of the AFL to get a merger or to compete was to sign all the good quarterbacks, right? To get all the good quarterbacks in the AFL. And that's what basically frightened the NFL into getting a merger because they didn't, most of them were still in the NFL, but as soon as they got out of their contracts, Al publicly was going to go on and get them and pay them a ton of money. So they merged. Well, now the AFL's got all the good quarterbacks. The
Yeah,
AFC's got all the good quarterbacks. All these years
yeah.
later, Al was right. I mean, they got Mahomes is the third best quarterback in the AFC right now. I'd rather have Josh Allen and I'd
Lamar.
still rather have Mahomes than Lamar. But the way Lamar's playing now, and Mahomes isn't healthy, and he hasn't had his good year. But they got the three best quarterbacks in the league, and three of them they're still going. I don't know. I bet you Houston gives Kansas City a better game than you thought. Houston looked great against the
Houston's
Chargers. They looked
defense.
awful.
Houston looked the way that we thought they were going to look more often this year with
Yeah.
a ferocious defense and yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, I'd rather have the three guys they ended up with because they don't have Hunter here, but Hunter looked great.
and they
You
got
know,
Will Anderson Jr. too.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
the Ravens front, everyone talked about Saquon Barkley all year with the Eagles because he almost broke the
yes,
rushing record. Derrick Henry ran for 1,900 yards,
yes. I got a
and the fact that you have both those guys, you could run the ball with either one of those guys. They ran for 300 yards against the Steelers last week. It's ridiculous.
Henry. I got a text in the middle of the game from because I hadn't been paying that close of attention to the Baltimore game. Somebody texted me. There was a good football guy texted me and says, "Derrick Henry is great. He's still great."
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, Baltimore's though old, mean, nasty football, aren't they? I mean, they're Buffalo to a degree, but Buffalo's sometimes they got to score 40 to beat you. Buffalo is mean. That's John Harbaugh's way of going about it. Boy, he had a better weekend than his brother. Whew.
Yeah,
His
old
brother,
Jim.
his
Yeah.
brother sat there on the sidelines, apoplectic, and now he's having heart surgery, and now we know he has one. We weren't sure that he did, so
Yeah.
but he's having heart surgery. So
By the way, on the one more thing on the Ravens, mean and nasty. You know who their right guard is? Baltimore.
who?
Daniel Falele, former Minnesota
Oh,
Gopher,
really?
is
Ooh,
their
what's he
starting
down
right
to?
guard.
About 360 now?
He he looks a little more fit, but he is when he lines up and they show the all 22, you can't even see the defensive lineman lined up in front of him. He's a house.
Oh man, he was something, man. He was from the IMG down there in Florida, Bradenton. I was going to go up and do a piece on that and kind of on him and the whole thing. And I think maybe they checked back with Gopher football because they wouldn't let me in.
Oh yeah.
I've got a hunch
Hey
maybe they thought,
PJ, can your
hey,
can your buddy
Oh
hey,
yeah.
Patrick go up
can you
and
put a plug in there for this guy, Reusse, whatever his name is? I would keep him off the grounds if I were you. They wouldn't let me in.
Yep.
So,
Hey,
yeah.
you know who I feel bad for this morning? It's all those fans at Target Center that had to stand until the 6-minute mark of the first quarter
Yes, right.
before the Wolves scored their
That
first
was
points.
that was hilarious. You turned it on, and finally, on the broadcaster, finally said, "Boy, I bet these people like to sit down here pretty soon." It was
Can
unbelievable.
someone just hit a free throw? Anything, please? Yeah.
13. Oh, do free throws count? If you only make one, does that
Yeah.
count? I thought it.
Yeah, we sit
Okay.
down for those. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. God, were they awful. Unbelievable. And Julius doesn't play for the last 8 minutes or something. He didn't play. He's
Yeah,
sitting
which
like,
is which is the right decision more often than not, but Yeah, there was too little
Oh.
too. And then
What do
Steph,
you
man.
think? I mean, is this fixable, or is this a 500 team that's going to be the 9 seed? Is it?
Well, you're asking a guy who, as Declan knows, went on a rant yesterday on Flag. Now, in fairness, it was our hottest Wolves takes show.
It
So,
was.
you know,
It was.
but I said, listen, since Anthony Edwards kind of called out the team in the Sacramento game from month and a half ago, there's been some ups and downs, but the Wolves 13-8 going into last night, playing at a 50-win pace since that happened, 4-1 with the new starting lineup. And I said, they've turned a corner. They're not a championship team, but they've kind of turned a corner. And then they start, and I settled in last night. Let's check on the game 5 minutes in, and then opened up my Twitter feed.
That's
Hey, Mackey, do you still think they've turned a corner?
they
No.
the fact. I mean, Golden State is Steph's, old and can still make a shot, but everybody's hurt on the team, and they got Steph and Wiggy, and it was just awful. It's just they're no fun. They're no fun. And now Cat, the warrior that he is, has got a
It's a thumb
bone
now.
spur in his thumb, and he can't play. God
Yeah.
Almighty, that bones. You know, I'm an NFL wide receiver, but I can't play today because I got a bone spur in my thumb. I'm sorry.
So is he not going to put? Is he not playing because tomorrow night Wolves go to Madison Square Garden and
He'll probably
potentially
play.
try to
I
get
don't know.
their revenge
If
on?
you got a bone spur in your thumb, doesn't somebody just give you a cortisone shot and you go play?
Depends on
For
which
goodness
thumb,
sake.
right? Is it your
Right.
shooting thumb?
Mhm.
Yeah.
They, by the way, have had some. They won last night, but they've had some bad losses too lately. They lost to the Orlando team at home, with Orlando missing its 4 leading scorers.
Yeah, that's bad.
So I don't know. Right now, here's what's interesting though about the NBA. I'll give them credit. It was always, we grew up with the Lakers. Every good player go to the Lakers or the Celtics or somewhere in between. There's about 4 franchises that always ended up with all the good players. Now your 2 best teams are Cleveland and Oklahoma City. They
Yeah,
got,
it's
one
crazy.
of them's lost 6 games, the other's lost 5. That is not, we might be enjoying it, but I can guarantee you in the NBA office, they're not real happy about the fact this might be their NBA finals with a 3 share nationally.
Yeah,
So,
Cleveland's on pace for just under 70 wins. They're
yeah.
literally flirting with the NBA regular season wins record.
Well, Oklahoma City
Crazy.
too. Oklahoma City's only lost 6, right? 5 or 6. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
And you know
So,
what? Real quick pet peeve. So I was at the game because I haven't talked to you since like Friday last week, and so I went to the game with my wife and some friends against Memphis on Saturday, and Memphis is out there playing an 11-man rotation. They
yes,
have a second round rookie starting 34 games and blanketing Anthony Edwards up and down the court. Zach Edey is a rookie playing 20,
yes,
25 minutes and shooting threes and grabbing 7 offensive rebounds. And I know that like Dillingham's been hurt and Terrence
yeah,
Shannon Jr. just got hurt too. There's been some injuries. But again, last night, 8-man rotation,
yeah.
couldn't possibly stretch it to 9.
Why not? If he gets 6 minutes, he's lucky. I don't know what we're doing, but why not play Luca for a while? He can score. He can score. He'll get, play him 10 minutes. And by the way, who lost the game last night? Gobert. He didn't get the rebound.
Man,
Right?
but
How can you
his
not?
rebounding has plummeted this year.
When you're, he's got inside position. The guy misses the free throw, and he lets them have the rebound. He's
Yeah.
right there next to him. Oh God,
It's terrible. Yeah,
it
I know.
is awful. It is awful. But they keep announcing sellouts and and by the way, Ant Edwards and who else? I was going to come up with somebody from the Gophers who could say they can have an exhibition horse game and see who can win.
Oh,
When's the last time he made a big shot? Okay, he made
I'll
a
tell you,
couple.
you could give me an hour to name a Gopher basketball player, and we'd still be sitting here. So I
Yes,
can't
yes,
help you on that
that's
punchline.
true. I said I saw a headline on our Star. Mich- uh, Michigan, big Michigan tandem of big men could be difficult for the Gophers or some of that. I said, me and Such could be difficult for the Gophers. They stink. Ben's done, by the way. He
Well,
ain't
and
gonna
then
make
Ben
it.
came out. I don't know when. I just saw these quotes floated this weekend that it's been publicly acknowledged by Ben that there's no upside to playing St. Thomas. That
Yes,
he said that out loud.
yes.
First of all, if that, I don't see Wisconsin dodging Green Bay and
No,
UW Milwaukee and
and
Marquette, right?
Marquette, yeah.
It's
Well,
ridiculous.
here's the thing. Two, yeah, I keep saying it. You're going to go 1-19 in the Big Ten, but boy, it would have been embarrassing if we got beat by St. Thomas, wouldn't it?
Couldn't
They
have
get
that happen. Yeah,
all that excitement around this franchise, around this 1-19 team. If we'd lost to St. Thomas, it'd be terrible. By the way, how about being the home of the Tommies basketball team, man?
that's
They're
right.
pretty
Business is
dang
booming
good.
on
Mhm.
1500
I was
ESPN
going
radio.
over there today to do a piece on one of their kids, and they can be next year. They can go to the tournament. So
Yeah, they
they
ruled.
got
That's awesome.
ruled them in their favor. So
Yep.
it's I mean, I we all like Ben. He's a nice guy, but having an hour meeting with them after they lose to Wisconsin and sit and we're hashing things out doesn't help when you stink. Okay, just get on the plane, fly back home, go through your practice, and then screw away another ball game.
Get into
It's
the catering, just play some
yeah,
video games.
yeah,
By the
yeah,
way,
yeah.
where are you getting the one from? Where you
But
said 1-19.
they gotta
Where's
win
where's
one.
the one coming from?
You can't. By the way, I heard yesterday. I thought that the bottom two didn't make the tournament, but it's the bottom three. They said on TV the other night.
Oh man.
So
Do they
we
do they
got.
get do they get relegated to a different
Yeah,
conference like
right. They
soccer
do.
or
They get sent to the Big Sky or some damn thing.
the Horizon League? That's
But
what's gonna
yeah, the
happen.
bottom three don't get it. So the Gophers have no chance to be in the Big Ten tournament. I would say. So
No, because they're currently a game and a half back of the cutoff, which is Penn State right now. So
okay.
that means they would have to win at least 2 games, right? And
Oh
then
no, I think they probably to avoid 16, 17, and 18, they'd have to lose. They'd have to win at least three, wouldn't they?
yeah,
I,
because right
I
now the teams above the cutoff all have 2 wins. So
you know
you
who
get
really
probably got to get to 3.
now sometimes you're clicking channels with all the college basketball that's on right now. I ran across Washington the other day for 8 minutes. God, are they awful?
Yeah.
That their game with Gopher should be it'd be like the death scene in Gladiator or something. It'd be these two teams. It'd be a bloody mess because they stink. Unbelievable. I got a text from Eric Musselman yesterday with a thing on a guy who'd done a little story uh, on him talking about a New York guy. He called him about Thibodeau's relationship with his dad, Bill, and Eric told him about the time they were in Palm Beach together, like later on in life. But he was down there, and he wasn't married yet or anything. But they were on the beach, Tibbs and Musselman, and then Eric, and he said he went swimming 3 times. Eric and Bill and Tibbs were still in it. They were talking basketball and sketching out things for 14 hours on the beach. He said, no, I know what he was getting heat. He's getting heats for for playing his players too many minutes. It's the
Yeah.
other gal, the minutes police were after Eric.
Oh,
And
okay.
Eric said, Tom Thibodeau is my best friend, was his answer for being playing
And by
his
the way,
guys
if
too
you can
much.
just hit the transfer portal, I'm not worried about load management. Okay, you can
No,
you can
that's
you can
true.
leave
What
anyways.
difference does it
So
make? Yeah, it
yeah,
does. It's unbelievable.
yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Well, we'll do it
What
again
the heck?
tomorrow, Pat.
All
Reusse
right.
Unchained.
We'll sell some cars tomorrow, dang it.
You darn
That's
right we
right.
will. See
All
you
right.
guys.
Good night.